With the NFL draft coming to a close, we are going to look at to see if any teams in the NFC West have closed the gap on the San Francisco 49ers. Now, it's been a pretty large gap, so that would be very difficult for a team to do that with just one draft. But we are going to look into all the other teams within the division's drafts, see who they got, see the free agents that they've added, and see have any of these teams closed the gap on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm looking at you, Seattle. That's who I'm looking at. Seattle, did you close the gap? We're going to talk about it all right after this. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is the vibes, ladies and gentlemen? How are we doing today on Tuesday? Shout out to SDS. Obviously, we've been doing a lot of analyzing of the San Francisco 49ers roster. We've been analyzing what the San Francisco 49ers did, but we all understand it starts in division. It starts within those four teams, including the San Francisco 49ers, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Cardinals. And did they get better? And most importantly, what we are looking for is did the Seattle Seahawks improve? Now, the San Francisco 49ers took care of business against Seattle last year. Talk about a what was it, a three-peat, a three-sweep. The San Francisco 49ers absolutely cooked the Seattle Seahawks last year. And they did it at home. They did it with three different quarterbacks under center as well. They did it with Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, and Jimmy Garoppolo. So you would have to think the San Francisco 49ers are in good shape, right, to take care of business. Well, with the draft complete, we're starting to get some grades coming out. And I found this grade to be interesting. This is from Yahoo Sports. And they gave the San Francisco 49ers the second lowest draft grade out of any team. They gave the San Francisco 49ers a D for their draft class. The only team to get a lower grade was Detroit with an F, which to me is kind of funny because I thought Detroit did all right. Many people didn't like what Detroit did, but F worthy? I don't know. They clearly got a starting running back when DeAndre Swift wasn't their future. So clearly, and this is from Charles McDonald. And Charles McDonald does have quite a bit of respect, at least on NFL Twitter, regarding like what his thoughts are on football. So it is interesting to see that he gave the San Francisco 49ers a D, but Seattle got a B plus. The Los Angeles Rams got a B, and the Arizona Cardinals got an A plus. So clearly, draft pundits and people who cover the draft didn't really love what the San Francisco 49ers did in regards to public perception, as we all know. And it's been discussed, obviously the kicker. I think the Jair Brown pick deserves a lot of credit. The Jair Brown pick was phenomenal. The fact that they traded up to get a guy like Jair Brown, I think he's going to be a long-time starter for the San Francisco 49ers. So that was a phenomenal pick. But where it starts to come into question is with the pick of Jake Moody, the pick of Cameron Latu in the third, And after that, I thought the 49ers did pretty good in regards to getting some linebackers, getting more cornerbacks, another tight end, getting edge. Uh, I thought they did okay. A D? I don't know about a D, but apparently they didn't like the Jake Moody pick or the Latu pick is what it really comes down to. Um, so it is going to be interesting to see obviously how that all plays out. But again, what the exercise is today is we are looking at the rest of the division and seeing how the division added talent and if that should be something that the San Francisco 49ers should be keeping an eye on because we do know Seattle. We played Seattle in the wild card, and Seattle had a much better season than anyone anticipated. Geno Smith played much better than anyone anticipated, and Seattle just added more talent. And if you look at the talent that they added Devin Witherspoon, who was considered the draft's best cornerback. They took him in the top 5, I believe. Um, I was pleased that they didn't take Jalen Carter in the top 5, but you take Devin Witherspoon and you pair him with Tariq Woolen, and all of a sudden, Seattle has a pretty solid cornerback room in regards to starting corners. Young, inexperienced, but solid. And then they come back at pick 20 and take arguably the best wide receiver in the class in JSN. And then you take JSN, who complements DK Metcalf pretty well. Tyler Lockett can go be a kind of a slot wide receiver. All of a sudden, Seattle, you're looking at their wide receiver core, their top 3 wide receivers. It's actually looking pretty good. You got DK, JSN on the outside. You put Tyler Lockett on the inside. Okay. I think they improved there. They definitely improved their cornerback room. They improved their wide receiver room. Then they go take Derek Hall in the second round. They needed a guy like that, and he could definitely improve that defense in the middle. And then they take Zach Charbonnet. So they doubled down on running back. They took Kenneth Walker last year, who I thought was the best running back in that draft. They took him. They got him at a steal. Charbonnet is a guy that the San Francisco 49ers were uh, linked to pre-draft, a guy that they appeared to identify and like quite a bit, and Seattle takes him in the second round. Then they go and get a guard. They get a nose tackle, defensive end, and Mike Morris. Cameron Young out of Oklahoma, quality nose tackle. Mike Morris is going to be kind of your inside out edge defender. He was a guy that I wouldn't have mind to see the San Francisco 49ers take, especially kind of in that 5th round range. They took him before the 49ers took Beal, but it sounds like that the San Francisco 49ers were pretty keyed in on Beal. So they got the guy that they wanted. That's fine. Oluwatimi, they got a starting center in the 5th round. So they got a starting center. They got a starting cornerback. They got a starting wide receiver. They got a starting linebacker. They got uh, a legitimate, probably one of the most legitimate young 1-2 punches at running backs with Walker and Charbonnet. They get Anthony Bradford. They get Cameron Young to pair Cameron Young, Mike Morris. Those guys will pair with Draymond Jones. They get Jarek Reed at safety, and then they go running back again. They go running back again with Kenny McIntosh, who's actually not bad. Not bad. So, I would say this, Seattle got better on paper. On paper, Seattle got, I would say, uh, exponentially better with, the young talent and the infusion of young talent that they are putting around kind of their core players. I mean, you can't you might not like Seattle, but you can't look at what Seattle has done post Russell Wilson and not say, "All right, we have a worthy opponent and we have a worthy team that can make it difficult for the San Francisco 49ers to continue to win the West." Now, we still think the San Francisco 49ers are going to win the West. They have some of the best talent in the entire league. So that's not what we're talking. We're talking about which team is catching up to the San Francisco 49ers. And if they hit on half of these guys, that is going to make the Seattle Seahawks a lot better. So, what the 49ers are going to have to continue to prove is that they're up for the challenge, and I think they are. But again, it is interesting to see what the division has done. And I would say that the Carolina, or not the Carolina Panthers, the Seattle Seahawks improved quite a bit. They added key players at key positions, and they have an opportunity to take a step forward. And I was in attendance for all three Seattle games. The first Seattle game of the year, boat raced them with two quarterbacks. Really wasn't much of a big deal. When I was in Seattle for the divisional the game to clinch the division, the San Francisco 49ers were owning that game, but somehow at the end, Seattle still was in striking distance. They somehow were still one score away from making that game a much different outcome. So even though the 49ers still owned that game, they were still in it pretty much until the end. I mean, we had to have Brock Purdy, sliding in bounds. We had to have the the run from Jordan Mason to seal it. So it's closer. And if you remember, if you go back to the wild card game, it was close game into the second half. It wasn't until Abram pulled Debo's leg that the entire thing shifted on its head. That was the pivotal moment in that game that really swung it towards the San Francisco 49ers. If you remember, that was a close game. It was close. In that wild card, I had anxiety. I was like, "Oh no. This is too close for comfort." And it really took that kind of Abram pulling Debo's leg play that flipped it. And so the point being is, I think the San Francisco 49ers added one potential starter in Jair Brown. I would say two, right? Jair Brown, Jake Moody. They got a safety and a kicker. Whether you like the kicker in the third, they still needed that position to be filled, and they filled it with the best player in the draft. So they got one of the best safeties in the draft, and they got the best kicker in the draft. They got two tight ends that are going to provide depth. They've got a couple linebackers. They got they got rotational players. They got guys who fill a role. They don't necessarily fill starting roles. Whereas you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they got a lot of starters, and that is going to elevate their team against the 49ers. So it's going to be very interesting to see as well. And then if you even look at the Cardinals, And what the Cardinals put together in their draft, they had a pretty solid draft. All these guys, I like all these players. You look at Paris Johnson Jr., arguably the best tackle in this class. Um, he's a freak in regards to size and movement ability, uh, and they got him at a pretty good value. Then they go get BJ Ojulari, who's one of the more skilled pass rushers in this class. They go get Garrett Williams, cornerback, really good cornerback, probably going to start for them. Michael Wilson, solid wide receiver, definitely blew up at the Senior Bowl and really proved that he can hang and be a potential weapon at the next level. Uh, John Gaines, probably going to start for them at guard. Clayton Tune, I like Clayton Tune. I was a Clayton Tune truther. Will he start? Probably not, but great backup with starting upside down the road. Um, he's their Brock Purdy, basically. Obviously, they have Kyler Murray, but he's their Brock Purdy. That's why they took him. Owen Papo, I mean, the value that they got for him, pretty solid. The value that they got for Kytrell Clark, solid. And Dante Stills, we wanted Dante Stills. Now, does this draft make them better? I think it does. But at what degree? Does that make them competent enough to compete with the San Francisco 49ers? Probably not. But this is a new regime, and that's what you have to pay attention to. This is a new general manager. It's new coaching staff. It's new. It's a new way of doing business, and this is a good draft. So, what we have to keep our eye on is how this regime change, how that's going to continue to stack against the 49ers, because this is a good draft. So this is an indication that, okay, maybe the Cardinals did something right in regards to who they got to evaluate talent for them, because at the surface level, this is a good draft. So, is it enough for them to take a massive jump? No, they're probably still 2 or 3 years out. But if they keep drafting like this in 2 or 3 years, it will be much more of a conversation. If Kyler Murray matures a little bit, um, becomes a pro and not try to have a side career as a pro gamer, then yeah, maybe. But so I would say with when we're talking about the draft specifically, we're talking about the draft. We're not talking about, we already know what the current roster stands like. We'll reference the current roster, but the main point of this is who got better in the draft, because how do teams improve? How do you build your core foundation? Most of it is through the draft. The best teams build through the draft. So what we're looking at is how you look at Seattle, how they've built through the draft and continue to build through the draft. Now we look at the Cardinals finally coming away with a pretty big haul here. Okay, I don't like the Cardinals, but I can respect this draft haul. That's for sure. Starting tackle, starting edge, starting cornerback, starting wide receiver, starting guard, backup quarterback with upside to be a starter, potential starting linebacker, potential starting quarterback, and a rotational defensive tackle who's going to play year one. So they got better. Are we concerned right now? Not necessarily. But hey, don't forget, San Francisco 49ers got waxed. They got waxed by the Cardinals and Colt McCoy. So anything's possible. It's a division. It's a division. But the question remains, did the Cardinals get better? Yes, they got better. So the Cardinals got better with their draft. Well, the Rams surely couldn't have gotten any better because it's the Rams. They had like no draft picks, right? They who are they gonna take? Rams didn't get better, did they? All right, well, let's look at their draft. Steve Avila, starting guard, arguably one of the better interior offensive linemen in the entire class. Byron Young, a guy that 49er fans wanted, guy that I would have wanted in that third round. Kobe Turner, Wake Forest interior defensive lineman, pretty solid. Stetson Bennett, quarterback. He might not have crazy intangibles or traits, but he can start. So he'll be a backup to Matt Stafford. And if they ever need him, he can step in and play. Nick Hampton, edge, is a guy that I've liked in this class as an edge rusher. Kind of fits that who did they have? Leonard Floyd kind of role. Warren McClendon, offensive tackle, 5th round, could be a guy. Could develop into a guy. Davis Allen was a tight end that I wanted the San Francisco 49ers to draft. Except the Rams took him. Puka, solid. I think way better than advertised. Travius Hodges Tomlinson, probably the only reason he goes in the 6th round is because he's 5'9". I don't know a whole lot about Mathis. I don't know a whole lot about the Evans brothers, Zach and Ethan Evans. One of them's a punter. They got a 7th round punter. Jason Taylor, I like as a safety. I like Jason Taylor. And they got Dejuan Johnson in with the Mr. Irrelevant pick. So again, I think you are misunderstanding the exercise that we are doing here. Do I think that the Rams are going to come out and beat everyone in the division? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about which teams got better through the draft. Did the division get better through the draft? I think you're crossing the lines of the two things. And when you're looking at this draft and you're looking at these players, they got better. Now, does that mean they've got better to the point where they're going to beat the San Francisco 49ers? Absolutely not. But they got better. And then, again, did the San Francisco 49ers get better? Did they get exponentially better through the draft? I think they did a pretty solid job, like we discussed. But I would say the NFC West, and we knew this going into this, 49ers were without a first or a second. I would say that the NFC West, when you look at the Cardinals, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Rams, you can make the case that they all had better drafts than the 49ers. Now, that doesn't mean the 49ers aren't going to come away with starters out of this draft. But again, on paper, looking at it objectively, you can make the case that all three teams had a little bit better drafts than the 49ers. And we know what the circumstances are. No first or second rounders for the 49ers, but neither did the Rams. Didn't have a first rounder either. So the question again remains is, did the NFC West teams close the gap or try to close the gap? And I would say they definitely succeeded with this class. Does that mean they're going to beat the San Francisco 49ers? Does that mean that these teams are all of a sudden better than the 49ers? No, that's not what we're talking about. The 49ers still have the best roster in the entire league. The 49ers have the best left tackle in the NFL, arguably to ever play the game. You can make the case they have the best tight end. They have the best fullback, the best running back, the top probably arguably the top 2 wide receiver duo in the league in Ayuk and Debo. Best middle linebacker, Warner. Best defensive end, Nick Bosa. So we go down the list. The 49ers still have the best roster in the NFL, but everyone in the division got better. Not that the 49ers didn't get better. Again, let's be very clear. I still think the 49ers improved in some areas, but I also believe that if you look at the rest of the division got had better drafts than the San Francisco 49ers. So, and we've discussed the reasonings for that. It's not apples to apples. It's not an apples to apples comparison because everyone has their own circumstances. So now, what are the San Francisco 49ers going to do? How do they respond? What are they going to do heading into this season? I still think the San Francisco 49ers are going to be projected to win the West. I think the race between it's still between Seattle and the 49ers. I don't think the Rams the Rams, if they get healthy, they could have obviously a better year than they did last year. But I don't think the Cardinals are there. I don't think the Rams are there. And this is really a two-horse race. It's a two-horse race between the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers. And unfortunately for the 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks had one of the best drafts 2 years running. And that is going to be very interesting to watch play out in regards to the power dynamic in the West. So I know fans still believe that the Seattle is not going to be that great. But I watched Seattle 3 times in person to know enough that I think with the pieces that they've added, they'll be able to give us a little bit. They'll be able to give us a run for their money. Now, do I think they're going to just outright beat the 49ers? No. We're still better. But we got to be honest with ourselves. They got better. So I'm excited though, because that's going to make the West more challenging this year. It's going to make the 49ers path to the playoffs more challenging than it was last year. And it was still pretty challenging, but I'm looking forward to it. I think the 49ers got some stuff to work through. PFF has us projected to lose in the NFC Championship game in their 2024 mock. I'm tired of losing in the NFC Championship game. We need to win this one, baby. This is the year. Nug says, while the Seahawks have shown improvement in the draft, making them a better team, I'm interested to see if Geno will play to the level he played at last year or if he will be a disappointment. I would assume he gets better. I see O-line improvements coming. So I think their O-line is going to get better. I think the reason why they added 2 running backs in this draft class is because they want the emphasis to be on the ground. They want this to be like the San Francisco 49ers. I don't envision the Seattle Seahawks looking to win games on the arm of Geno. That's not how I see it. I see it more like the 49ers. I see it more like we build this roster around Geno. You have a top run game, good offensive line, and good weapons. And then that forces defense to play them more honestly, and it allows them to get into run first, play action, and start getting into that game because they were doing that really well against 49ers. That's why we were having a hard time stopping them. they would just go on these drives, especially in the wild card game. So we're gonna see. I would imagine Geno gets better, but we'll see. How much better? I wouldn't say a whole lot better, but I think that's the point of what I'm saying. It's they're looking to win this as an offensive unit, like the 49ers wanting to win as an offensive unit. So it doesn't have to be all on Geno, and I think that's the point. I really think that is the point. Boomer says, Brad, Eagles scare me the most. I mean, the Eagles got good. They got a lot better. Right? Like, I mean, it's really hard because like I don't like the Eagles, but I also don't want to just be the ultimate homer and not give them their proper credit for what they did. I mean, the Eagles, continue to just Howie Roseman in his bag. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just like they got Jalen Carter fell to them. Then they got Nolan Smith, who fell to them at the end of the first. Then they go take Tyler Steen. They get Sidney Brown, who's going to be a day one starter for them. They get Keely Ringo in the fourth. I mean, they trade for DeAndre Swift. Like, what? They got DeAndre Swift for nothing. For nothing. So, Eagles got better. So, that's the heavyweight bout right there. 49ers have to get through the division first. That's why we're doing this exercise, is because there's no Eagles without getting through the division. I imagine the road through the Super Bowl is going either through San Francisco or Philadelphia. It's going through one of these spots. But before it can go through San Francisco or it can go through Philadelphia, at least for us specifically, we gotta take care of the division first. That's going to be the number. Like, I think this year more than last year, the division emphasis is going to be huge. Like, that's why I really wanted to focus on the division today, is because I think the division got better, and we know teams steal games in division all the time. It happens. And so we have to be honest with ourselves. All three teams got better through the draft. So now we can go back and forth and discussing what that actually means and how that would translate to wins or no wins. But at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to get to the Super Bowl. And to get to the Super Bowl, we know it's win division, take care of your division first, get into the dance. And I think the goal this year needs to be one seed. Like, I think that's the expectation right now. I think that the 49ers really need to like have a emphasis and a goal that the one seed in the NFC, they need home field advantage. They need that bye. Home field advantage bye. That's what it is. And I think that is a realistic expectation for the San Francisco 49ers. That's what I think. I think this team is good enough. And I think this team is good enough with Brock Purdy, with Trey Lance, and I'm going to piss some people off, but with Sam Darnold. Whichever quarterback it is, I think that this team can win. I really do. I don't care which one it is. I would say Brock Purdy would be my first, then Trey, then Sam. But with any of those quarterbacks within this scheme, with these weapons and that defense and this special teams unit, I think I think this team can obtain the 1 seed. So that's the expectation. That's where we're aiming for, and it all starts with the division. Get get ready, baby. Get ready. Can't wait. Justin says, how many INTs for Jair Brown to get defensive rookie of the year? Uh, I would say, let's see. Who was defensive player of the year? Defensive rookie of the year last year. It was dude out of New York, Sauce, right? How many how many did he have? Because you had Talanoa Hufanga, he had 5. So baseline would have to be like the floor is 5, I would say, interceptions. I would say that he would need to get into that. I think someone even said it in the chat, 7 or 8 category. If he gets 7 or 8 interceptions, I think Jair Brown is firmly in that conversation, especially coming from the safety spot. So, man, I'm so excited to see Jair Brown and Talanoa Hufanga play together. Like I'm so excited. I can't tell you. The safety thing was one of my top priorities in this draft. Obviously, you guys know I was banging the table for O line, but outside of O line, it was edge and safety. And there's this, there I've talked about it all the time on this channel. There's a specific type of safety that I was looking for. I wasn't like there were some good box safeties in this class. I wasn't looking for box safeties. Jair Brown fit the mold of exactly what we need to complement Talanoa Hufanga and to have a true duo at safety. And these two guys, like you talk about ball hawks, you talk about their play speed is faster than their testing speed. Um, the instincts, the physicality that they bring, these two get excited. I'm excited. I'm excited about Jair Brown. Like you're talking about an impact player year 1, and that's even if he doesn't start. Even if he's rotational with Gip, he's still going to be an impact player. Um, so uh, I think, I mean, if you're a betting man, um, and your state allows you to bet, I would take a. I'm sure the odds are not tilted towards Jair. So if you put some money on Jair, you could probably come away with a steal future bet. Again, I'm not a gambler. I live in California. They don't allow us to bet on games, so I'd probably dabble a little bit more if they would do it. I don't know enough about gambling to like have like a bookie or whatever. I know there are ways to gamble. Um, but that would be a future bet that I would be interested in taking because I'm sure the odds are for like a Witherspoon or a Jalen Carter or a Will Anderson or these guys, like they're not going to be tilted towards a 3rd round safety. So if you wanted to make a little money, maybe throw like a dub, throw 30, 40, Jair Brown, defensive rookie of the year. Think about the defensive line. Think about how much havoc they're going to be creating and pressure they're going to be creating. What does that translate to? Quarterbacks being uncomfortable and getting the ball out quickly, and forcing it out quickly, which can translate into interceptions. So, food for thought. There's my gambling advice for the year. I never give gambling advice, but I'd be one I'd be interested in because I'm sure the odds would be crazy good, crazy good. Uh, Crazy good. I agree with this. Quan was more I think athletic. He was much more like you could see the athleticism dripping off of him. Whereas Brown, if you know, you know. He's a football player. And that's a good thing. It's a great thing. It sounds so trivial. He's a football player? Yeah, he's a football player. Not everyone's a football player. Some guys look like football players, but they're not. Uh, could it be possible to move Huff in the box and have Brown play that? I mean, that's honestly, that was the whole exercise of scouting safeties for me, was finding a safety to complement Hufanga playing in the box or around the line of scrimmage, or allowing him to freestyle. And then you have a deep middle safety who can be the true safety blanket and have the speed and the instincts and the awareness to be able to play deep middle. And that's why Jair Brown was someone that I liked for that, because not only can he play the deep middle, but he is going to come downhill and he's going to smack you. He's going to tackle. He what the stuff that Brown does off the edge is going to go unrecognized until we start to see it. But like when you're talking about goal line, you're talking about run stuffing like plays that are 100% run. Brown is going to be an impact in those plays. He's going to put his head in there and make plays. So I really, really like what he can bring to the table. Um, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I think it's one thing that I got my eye out for is, are these San Francisco 49ers going to add an edge? I feel like they don't have that complement to Nick Bosa. And I think if they find it, that's the difference maker for the entire defense, is finding a true complement to Nick Bosa on the other side. Now, that's no disrespect to Beal, to Cleveland, to Drake Jackson. It's no disrespect at all. It's just like those guys. Some of those guys are young, or like Cleveland. Like I think he's a serviceable player. I don't think he's going to be that player that strikes fear into opposing offensive coordinators' hearts. I, I want something like that. That's kind of where we've been like looking at, and we haven't necessarily gotten it yet. So we do know that the San Francisco 49ers cleared up a ton of money. And when you look at the available guys that are still out there, you still got Jadavion. You still got Yannick. Leonard Floyd is out there. Now, these guys aren't, Yannick's the youngest at 28. So, and you could tell by the grades, there wasn't anything special that he did last year from a grade perspective. But we need someone. Justin Houston, 34. Frank Clark is going to be 30. Kyle Van Noy, Dwayne Smoot, Carlos Dunlap, Robert Quinn. It's not like any of these guys are like home runs, but I think if you could add one of these guys to the existing room, I do think it would help a little bit. I think it would just help again with the rotation. It would help with just generating pressure on the quarterback, and we know they're going to rotate. We know that they're going to rotate. We're not looking for a full-time edge. We're looking for a mercenary. We're looking for a hired gun. Someone who could step in, get dirty. So I would like Yannick the best. Um, it would be interesting to see if any trades would be available at this point. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Leo says losing Ebukam and Omenihu was a big hit. Bosa will get doubled without a complimentary edge. I think the addition of Javon Hargrave will help with that. I really do think that they're going to have to, because if you really look at it, the quickest path towards the quarterback is through the interior. So the quickest way to generate pressure is through the interior. So because of that, they might have to pinch down opposed to kicking out. So that's going to be the interesting adjustment. Also, I still have that theory that they might be thinking about kicking Eric Armstead to edge. I know a lot of people don't like that idea, but if you go back to 2019, Eric Armstead had his best season playing predominantly on the edge. And I know that goes against the grain a little bit. And it goes against even what I've always thought that Eric Armstead should be a three tech. I always thought that's where he would fit best, was at three tech. But you get Javon, and Javon is the three tech. He's your three tech. So that's where I think that gives Eric Armstead a little bit more flexibility to move around. We know we know Eric can play in the 0, he can play in the 1. Like he can play nose, like he can do that. But he can also play edge, and I think he would be best suited with Javon at edge. And that's why when I'm watching Eric and I'm watching him lean out, yeah, can we get Eric on edge? Maybe that speaks to why they haven't gone with edge. Something to think about. That's my tinfoil hat with Eric Armstead. I got my eye on it. I'm gonna keep talking about it. I don't know. I think Javon gives this defensive line a ton of flexibility because I've talked about it before. Eric was the anchor on the interior. Now he doesn't have to be the anchor. Now he can float. Now he can kick out to the edge. He can kick to the interior. You have Javon who's going to rush the passer from the interior. And then you got Kevin Gibbons, you got Kalia Davis, who are expected to have big roles in this defense. And who, like, I'm not giving up on Javon Kinlaw yet. Like, I know a lot of people are done with Javon, and that's like I can rationalize why fans are just kind of over it. But me personally, I'm not going to give up on Javon just yet. I know they're not picking up his 5th-year option, so his future with the 49ers, his days are numbered. But like I go back to the NFC Championship game, man. Like if you really want, like, so just a reminder, um I was I was flying back from Philly, and I had the plane had no internet, and I have ADHD, so sitting in a spot with nothing to do just doesn't work for me. So I had the game film, and I watched that Philadelphia versus 49ers NFC Championship game back twice. It was painful. I was kind of like torturing myself, but I was so bored that I was like, I need to do something. Like I need to like I don't want to watch this game. The offense was like unwatchable because after Johnson went down, it was nothing to evaluate on offense. And so I watched the defense. And early on, yeah, Javon was getting moved by double teams. He was getting moved a lot. However, he made an adjustment. I don't know what the adjustment was, but he made an adjustment, and in that second half, he played a different half of football. And so I get it. Like you know the knee issues, you see how Javon played in that first half, and it was I mean the clips went lightweight viral of him getting double teamed. So everyone saw that. But I don't think what people really paid attention to was how he improved in that game. And he actually there was a sequence where he made back-to-back plays where he fought through double teams. And so I get it. I get it. But I'm still holding out. I don't have high expectation for Kinlaw, but I am holding out hope that he can be a piece to this defensive line. So we'll see what ultimately happens at the end of the day with Javon Kinlaw. Um, and again, if you don't want to have any expectation for Javon, I, I'm not going to say you're wrong for that. But for me personally, um, I'm not giving up on Javon yet. I still think there's something in the tank there. And if he can stay healthy, again, that's the key Javon, if he can stay healthy, Kinlaw, right? Like that's basically what we'd say every time when we talk about Javon. But if that's the case, like I think that could be nice. I think that could be nice. Winners took 53. Where are you seeing that? Where are we seeing that? Did he post that on his page? Where are you seeing the 53? Where are you? I need a source. I need the source. Twitter, someone drop all the numbers. Don't know if it's legit yet. Okay, so they must have. All right, we can do it together. I'm just doing a quick search and we can look. I'll look it up and then we can look at it together. Let's see. 49ers roster. Oh, yep. We got numbers. Oh, we got numbers. All right, I'll share them with you. So, Jair Brown, number 27. Latu, 81. Luter, 28. Jake Moody, 4. Oh, Jake Moody going with the 4, huh? Braden Willis sticking with the 9. D Winners, 53. All right. All right. All right. We see it. All right. Well, those are your numbers for the rookies. So we got numbers. Numbers ahead. All righty. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna get this stuff posted because hey, why not? We like to figure out what the numbers are. But I'll be back tomorrow with more riveting 49ers content. Appreciate you guys. Out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to